Welcome to Hypr Community. Hypr Community is a social...
Hey guys, it's your boy Malcolm from Hypr Academics.
Welcome to Hypr Community. Hypr Community is a social learning network. It brings together the power and convenience of social media and superimposes it onto a learning management system. For most of you, it will be easy to recognize how similar the community's features are to your favorite social media sites. Except, we have dedicated this website to facilitate learning in a comfortable and familiar setting. Standard features of Hypr Community include posting to your timeline, private messaging, following other users, and connecting. Users will be able to create private and public groups and forums to join others that match their individual goals for connectivity and learning. We are excited to be partnering with faculties, consultants, residents, doctors, and other professionals to bring you groups and live topical forums that provide rich content that are moderated by the best in each field, providing second-to-none information for your benefit. Hypr Community will foster networking that will bring together faculties, local students, regional students, and professionals onto a platform dedicated solely to your success. Best of all, it is free for all students. Go now to www.hyprcommunity.com and sign up today. Hypr Community. Learn, grow together.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Elan here with Ford. Most of you should know me. And welcome to our first ever Hypr Academics Cave Hill rap session. Today we're going to be discussing all things first and the second year, and we're also going to be introducing you to the Hypr formula. But before I do so, just a quick little icebreaker. So for the first and second years here, or if you're out of faculty, just drop in the chat quickly how the semester is going for you so far. We're 3 weeks in, so there should be something to say. Let me pull up the chat. So if you're year one, just say year one. See how the semester is going. Year two, likewise. I know you guys aren't shy, so. Now the fifth year struggling. Now that doesn't sound promising for me, Devon. Maisha says it's going horrible. Oh dear. Don't worry, Maisha, I got you. I'm your second year tutor. Jamaica says sleep depriving. In year one already? Oh dear. All right, today we'll learn how to combat all of that as we seek out our Hypr formula. Shen says it's horrid. Shen, you didn't put that in the main section. All right, we'll wait just a few seconds. I see some people trickling in. But I'll just interact with the persons here so far. So make sure how's CVS going? And Jamaica, how is locomotor going? Tia says 0 out of 100. Oh dear. How's CVS going, Tia? So no one is having a good time? That's what's happening here? Chat is over already. All right, so we're going to begin. I'm just going to tears a mood, but I hear Hypr can help. Definitely. Oh, not the third years. Oh, Mishka. I think it's less than third years. Don't talk. It's very rough indeed. Would not recommend. All right. So today, I'm just going to outline the program. What's going to happen? So you're going to get a message from the Hyper Academics Managing Director, Devon Malcolm Brewster. Devon is a brilliant fifth year student at Mona. He's going to be talking to you a bit about um, Hyper Academics. Then we're going to go into how to approach each course. So we're going to go cell bio, endocrine, locomotor, GIT, embryology, CVS, and then FDT. CVS, FDT, that's it. Okay. Um, and after that, Devon is going to come back and talk to you about the hyper formula. And then we open the floor to any questions. So without any further ado, I give the floor, the mic to Devon.
Hi guys, good afternoon. My name is Devon Malcolm Booster, as Elan shared with you, and I am the managing director of Hypr or Hyper Academics. I am really excited to share with you today. This has been long in coming. We have been in discussion of the MSA for quite some time, and we are just excited to get this semester rolling. Let me just let you know, first of all, that I bring greetings not just on my own behalf, but also on behalf of the board of directors of Hyper Academics Jamaica Limited, otherwise shortened as Hyper. Uh, we are really excited for the opportunity to just share with you the opportunity to work with your excellent team of students over at Cave Hill, and we look forward to having fun with you, having a grand time, a wonderful time this evening. This evening, as Ellen would have outlined, we plan to discuss with you the different courses that you will be taking this semester from a very basic perspective before we delve into what Hyper Academics has to offer. And a little later down, I will speak a little more about Hyper Academics, but just to say that we are really happy and we look forward to the establishment of Hyper Academics Barbados Limited in short order. But of course, that all depends on you. So we look forward to this season of piloting, this season of experimenting, where we can see and show you how Hyper Academics has changed lives here at Mona, and definitely can do the same for you at Cave Hill. So thank you very much.
Okay, brilliant. So you've gotten a glimpse of Hyper, and I just want to say Devon did not he's not a boastful person, but I will boast for him. Hyper Academics, it is, and I see some third years here, so it is the reason I would have gotten an A in CNS when you do CNS second semester. Um, Actually, let's talk about that then. But when you do CNS second semester, CVS this semester, GIT this semester, transitioning to a 6 credit course in one semester is tough. First years when you do FDT, your first 6 credit course, it doesn't feel like 6 credits. It feels like 9. But Hyper has been instrumental for myself and some of the tutors here today in getting um, well in carrying out the hyper formula. So we're gonna go into how to approach each course. So Keith is going to talk to you a bit about cell bio. So Keith, if you're ready.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening. So, cell biology. I must say, cell biology in first year was, I guess, among the class, it had mixed opinions about it among different individuals. So, my one I enjoyed it because in cell bio there's a lot of biochemistry involved, and I quite enjoyed chemistry in sixth form. So I guess people that enjoyed CAPE and A-level chemistry and biology probably are gonna have some sort of fun with this course. If I'm talking for serious, if y'all don't feel that, that's alright. But us at Hypr, we plan to make the experience more enjoyable, relatable, and understandable for you. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the course. Obviously, you know about the course, and I mean the course objectives are posted, so I don't have to give the detail. But as you know, cell biology is a course that delves into the intricate details of cell structure, cell function, and metabolism down to the subcellular levels. And in this course, there's 6 units, namely Introduction to Cell Bio, Protein Structure and Function. We're going to be talking about amino acids and enzyme denaturing, regulation, etc. We're going to be talking about intermediary metabolism or intermediate metabolism. That deals a lot with Krebs cycle, glycolysis, basically anything dealing with the metabolism of energy we use in the cell, lipid metabolism, nitrogen metabolism, and the integration of metabolism, where you have these processes, you're seeing how they're interlinked, interconnected, because you'll see as you do lipid metabolism how that relates then to intermediary metabolism with the different intermediates, your malonyl coenzyme A, etc., succinyl coenzyme A and stuff. So, why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this because with all these pathways and different things you'll be learning, they're multi-step processes, and as a result, you're gonna have a lot of enzymes, a lot of substrates, products, intermediates to wrap your head around, to know what does what, etc. And it can seem daunting. Let's be honest. It can be like, oh gosh, I see this, I saw this intermediate here, but it's involved in something else here. And how do I remember which enzyme acts on it in the first step, the second step? So we're here to help you with that. I will say that the nomenclature, right? I give you hints already. The nomenclature of the different enzymes and the chemistry behind it are very important to pay attention to, because they help you understand what happens at each step. Because I guess I would have been told already certain enzymes are named certain ways, and once you pay attention to that and the chemistry, it'll help you to understand. Now, with regards to studying cell biology, as I said, it's a lot to wrap your head around, even for a 3-credit course, because it's no FTT, let's be honest. But still, it's a lot to grasp. So what I would advise is that you pre-read the slides if you get the chance. And I know Med is busy and we have lives outside of Med, but if you get the chance, please pre-read the slides and post-read. If you miss the chance to pre-read, post-read. Make sure within 24 hours of the class, or 48 hours at least, when it's fresh in your head, go over it. Because if you leave things to the last minute, you tend not to want to come back to it. So for your own benefit and while it's fresh, to help consolidate it, go over it. And when I was doing cell biology, because this is regard to textbooks now, I didn't use textbooks much for cell bio, I'll be honest. But you can use the required text, the recommended textbook, because that's often where a lot of questions may come from, etc. And I find that the slides you'll be given, I believe Dr. OJ should still be the course coordinator for cell biology. I hope she is. But her slides are very comprehensive. Trust me, all the information you need to know for the course, for the exams, and more are going to be on those slides. Because some courses, it's not like that. Some courses you will definitely have to go dig in the textbook to find information that might not necessarily be on the slides. But with Dr. OJ, you're going to find and your other cell bio lecturers, a whole host of information on these slides, and that may even look intimidating at some points, right? So that makes it even more important to pre-read, so it can seem less intimidating. You get a slight understanding of it before the lecture, and then a better understanding after the lecture, right? So yeah. And with that being said, it's important to understand. Don't just memorize, because when you understand, right, if you're in a pinch in an exam, if you're in a pinch anywhere, you can like say, if you understand, well, this enzyme does this, right, and you're given a scenario, you can work your way to the answer. But as a Hypr, we got you covered, and I'll talk about how in a minute. So on to endocrine system now. Endocrine is for the second years. This is probably my favorite out of all the second year courses. And along with CBS, GAT, you'll be introduced to system-based learning. All are going to be delivered in a similar fashion where you have all the aspects of the science regarding the system from anatomy straight down to pathology. From anatomy to phys to path to microbe to farm, right? From top to bottom. In this course, there's a lot of, I guess, intricate details that can help you. Again, there's a lot of biochemistry. Um, Me personally, I again here didn't really use much textbooks for endocrine, but I'm not encouraging you guys to be like me. Find a textbook that works for you. If any of the other tutors have a recommended the textbook they will recommend to you, they can you can ask them or your med siblings. But yeah, so I would say that with this course, you again have to pay attention to the chemistry, and because you will be tested on the chemistry, with the different hormones, etc. And I reckon that again, these slides are going to be very comprehensive. So the same advice I gave to the first years, I would again give to the second years. And you guys probably heard it preached in your ears already by the lecturers, so it probably may sound cliche, but please pre-read and post-read. Pay close attention to the intricate details, all right? So at Hypr, what I'm gonna stress, what we want to do is make sure you understand everything clearly. So from anatomy straight to farm, we're gonna have you covered in the explanation, but we'll delve into that later. So that's me on cell bio and endocrine.
Okay, brilliant. Very, very useful advice. One thing I want to add to what Keith was saying, I'll start with cell bio first. One thing I want to add to cell bio is that he mentioned it's no FDT, and then I saw, um, right, so I was reading the chat. He mentioned it's no FDT. However, for me, cell bio was worse than FDT. Cell bio is a lot. It doesn't feel like a 3 credit course. So like Keith was saying, it's not one of those courses you want to fall behind in, because when you get to your exam review and you see how many things are coming on the exam and you haven't started, it's going to be a problem. But you'll learn today very shortly from Research Singh. You'll learn today very shortly from the explanation of the hyper formula how we can combat having that stress at the end of the semester. Also, I know you guys don't have Dr. OJ this year. Yes, Dr. OJ was amazing, but I trust whoever is teaching cell bio this year, if they are 1/10 of the teacher that Dr. OJ is, you'll be great. And cell bio, yes, that's an important point. So cell bio builds on intro to molecular medicine builds on cell bio, and you'll be doing that in semester 2. So it's important, for your entire medical career to take in what you learn in cell bio, but it's also important not just in semester 1 but semester 2. Then endocrine. No, endocrine for me, I'll be honest, I played the fool in endocrine because I said, you know what, I have CVS 6 credits, GIT 6 credits, endocrine 3 credits. I want A in these two 6 credit courses, and the A in endocrine is going to come easy. I was wrong. I was very wrong. It is a straightforward course. Once you understand your physiology, you'll be fine, really. Because if you understand endocrine physiology, there's no reason for you not to understand endocrine pathology. However, you can't just put it on the back burner if you're like me, because when you get into that exam and you think, yeah, I knew this, you really don't, because there's certain stuff you have to you have to recap, go over before you get into that exam setting. So don't let endocrine trip you up, even though it's 3 credits. It is a light course. It is not a difficult course, but it can trip you up if you aren't expecting it. So, and I love the interactions in the comments. I am reading your interactions, and we'll comment on all questions at the end. There's a Q&A segment at the end. But what we will do now is go on to locomotor with Shen. So Shen, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, I am Shen, and I'll be one of the year one tutors this semester. So locomotor system, I really liked loco. To me, it was the easiest course in semester one, and the biggest thing in loco is that practice makes permanent. So we had to go over the work all the time. We were studying every night at some very ridiculous hours as well. We were studying. And there are things when you learn it, and it's really important to go over it almost immediately when you learn it. So, for example, the brachial plexus. When you learn the brachial plexus, the only way to commit that to memory is to continue to draw the brachial plexus. Draw it every day. Like, you know how people like to doodle? You begin doodling the brachial plexus, and there's no judgment on anyone. I don't judge you. That's just how it has to be, because almost all, if not all, the pathology in loco, at least for the upper limb, comes off the brachial plexus in one way or the other. And yes, Dr. Singh will ask you about it. She'll take you all the way up to. She'll take you all the way up. It could be something causing issue with your serratus anterior, and Dr. Singh will ask you, okay, what's the root? And you now have to go all the way back, like, okay, this nerve comes off of this and this and this. You need to know the brachial plexus like the back of your hand, right? What was really important for us in loco, because it's relatively straightforward information. It's not like cell bio or FPT, but the sheer amount of information can get to you, because I believe that medicine hard is just a lot of information coming at you at any one time. So in loco, what we did was we made a list of our all the pathology in loco, and we kept going over it. You have to be able to identify what the pathology is, what causes it, what's a nerve, what is the muscle affected. You need to know origin, insertion, nerve for all the muscles that Dr. Singh brings. No muscle is not important, trust me. For us, when we did loco 2 years ago, that seems like so long ago. Yeah, when we did loco, we spent a lot of time on upper limb simply because of how the semester was, and all of lower limb was like congested into this short amount of time. So if you can, I would recommend not only pre-reading, but trying to read ahead for lower limb, because it's just as important, it's just as many, and it's really, really a lot when you take everything into consideration. If you can, if you're one of those people that likes to make questions and ask yourself, I would recommend it. But you can also come to the Hypr sessions where we can ask you questions as well and explain it. And there are certain things where in class, if Dr. Singh says this is important, that means it's coming on an exam. And she gives hints like that. So this might sound a little hypocritical coming from me, but you should go to class, because she will give out a couple hints. Yeah, you learn like stuff like green stick fractures, Collie fractures, the Salter-Harris, and know these things. And I think loco is really lovely. Yes, attend your lectures, guys. I think loco is lovely. I really think it was that quote unquote relaxed class, because everything was so easy. For me, when it came to books, I used, it's around here somewhere. I used more clinically oriented anatomy for clinically oriented anatomy for the book. And this right here is my Bible, right? So can you all see this? Right. This is my anatomy Bible. And I read this and colored in it you'll just saw a part I didn't color. But I color in it. I'm still coloring in it because we're doing urinary system this semester. And it's really helpful for me, because even those moments when I did not want to study, guess what? I'll sit and color, but I'll still be learning. Another really helpful resource was Teach Me Anatomy. that was amazing because usually the things it just I guess this was a happy coincidence. But the things we learned when teach me anatomy would usually be what Dr. the lab lady, I can't remember her name right now, excuse me, but it would usually be what she would speak about the next day. So we'd be ahead and able to go through that. You should also have friends. Please, I'm begging, have friends that you can go over the information with, friends that will hold you accountable. If you don't understand something, friends that can explain it to you. And not Mrs. Hall, you say, but thank you. Um, Friends that, so for example, my roommate, he and I would study on campus, well, we used to pre-COVID, on campus until like 3 or 4 a.m. And if I didn't understand something, I'll go bother him. We'll bounce it off of each other until we knew it. So that to me is super important to have, especially in a class where it's, I wouldn't want to say it's memorization, but it's a lot of repetition for it to be understood because you need to be able to apply it as well. So yeah, that's it for local. I hope to see you all there.
Right. I'd have to agree with what Shen says for local, and Shen is downplaying herself. I don't know anyone that knows anatomy better. Well, besides Dr. Singh, anatomy as sound as Shen does. Um, I actually think Shen would make a brilliant surgeon. She's probably smiling somewhere because she wants to be an orthopedic surgeon. So yes, locomotor. It is a pretty straightforward course. It's one of those courses that makes sense. So once you draw, and I'm sure Dr. Singh would have told you to draw your muscle table. So you have your, so let's do sits muscles, for example. You have your sits muscles in your table. You have your innervation. You have your blood supply. You have your insertion, your origin. Um, and once you, if you're some person that learns from those muscle tables, it'll make complete sense. If not, there are other options that Chen would have mentioned. Chen loves to draw. So yes, she was not exaggerating when she says she's always drawing. Whenever we have an anatomy class, Chen is in her netters with crayons, genuinely drawing. If that works for you, that's another method. But locomotor is not one of those courses that will trip you up if you prepare adequately. So that's still monitoring the chat. Yes, anything that Dr. Singh says you must know, it's coming on the exam. It's funny how Shen said the brachial plexus like the back of your hand. Next one, reset. Okay, so we're going into GIT now. And GIT will be covered by myself this semester. So, okay, I thought you were going to do the whole, okay, cool. So digestive or GIT, and I see Xavier here in the chat. And then he popped up again. I actually got this advice from him. So GIT is one of those courses that when it is taught from faculty, it didn't make sense to me because truthfully, your lectures are arranged based on availability of your doctors, your teachers. But that's not how it makes sense to learn. So for instance, one day you may do anatomy of the esophagus. The next day you may do anatomy of the large intestine. What I found worked for me was to look at my embryology first, for your GIT on a whole, then go into a specific part of the GIT. So let's say esophagus. So I say I did my embryology. Now I'm going to look at my anatomy. I'm going to look at the extent of the esophagus, the constrictions of the esophagus, that kind of stuff. Then I may want to look at histology, because understanding the histology is going to help me understand the pathology. It's going to help me understand the physiology. So I go through my histology, I cover that, and then I get to my path. Then I say, okay, well, there's no physiology of the esophagus per se, but there is physiology of swallowing. That involves the esophagus. So going through GIT in a systematic way like that was a perfect approach for me. because I found at the beginning of the semester when I was just going, okay, so I have anatomy of this, anatomy of that, anatomy of this, anatomy of that. To start, it really was not working for me and nothing would stick. But going through it, based on, I don't want to say organ system because you're actually in a system, but going through based on your organs and trying to master everything on that particular organ was much more helpful for me. On top of that, well, disclaimer, GIT is probably the heaviest course you have this semester, second years. Um, Everybody's going to warn you about CVS, but GIT, especially when you get to pathology, it can drown you. You need to stay up to date with GIT. I know everybody's saying the same thing, stay up to date with this, stay up to date with that. You need to stay up to date with GIT. Digestive can drown you when you get to that pathology. Digestive pathology, I have at least 15 digestive pathology lectures, and you cover that in a very short space of time, and it's well after your anatomy. So you have to master your anatomy, your histology, everything, so that when Dr. Reed shows up and he asks his questions at the beginning of the class, you aren't lost, because it'd be very counterintuitive to show up to your liver path session and you don't even understand liver anatomy yet. So GIT need to stay up to date. It is a course that if you don't stay up to date, quite frankly, I'm not sure if you'll survive. But if you come to our Hypr reviews, I can guarantee you that you will survive. So you've mastered your GIT pathology. Somebody's saying, pay attention to everything Dr. Reed says. Yes, Dr. Reed is your best friend for GIT. That final exam is, at least my final exam was, I want to say 40% pathology, maybe 50% pathology. So not understanding GIT path. And he goes over anatomy as well. He goes over histology as well. If you give him enough time, he'll go over pharmacology as well. So attend Dr. Reed's classes. I know in second year, you realize some classes may be more important than others, and you don't attend all of them. At least that was 2024. One class that you should definitely attend, regardless, is Dr. Reed's classes. So that's the real approach to GIT. It is a heavy course. I'm looking at my old notes and I see I took 68 different notes for GIT. And that's the most I took for the entire second year. So it's one of those courses that unfortunately you can't let it slip past you, and don't think that okay, it's week 3. Elon is saying don't let the course pass me by and I'm already behind. You still have time. Trust. When that big pathology hits, you'll know when it does, and it hasn't yet. So you still have time to catch up with the course. And of course, when you come to your Hypr review sessions, I'll be going through high yield information with you. And once you really take the time to understand, GIT path especially never leaves your head. I could sit down here and talk about Mallory-Weiss, achalasia, Barrett's esophagus for an hour, because you learn it. Once you learn it well, it doesn't leave, and you'll need it for sure for your third year rotation. So that's GIT, digestive. The next course we're going to talk about is actually embryology. Some of you, so the third years, would know it as meiosis to man. Second years may know it as meiosis to man as well. But this year, I think it's called Introduction to Embryology. So Shen is going to touch on that for a bit.
I'm back. Okay, so embryology and histology, well, hopefully it's the same way. But embryology is a really nice class for me. And if you come to the Hypr classes, it will be a nice class for you too. So, it's pretty straightforward. Once again, once you go to Dr. Singh's class, as was said in the chat and said before, she will tell you what is high yield and what she would like you to know because it's coming on the exam. That being said, you should still try to know everything or as much knowledge as possible to make the connections and connect dots and stuff like that. What in embryology, I think it's important because you'll be seeing embryology in all your other classes from henceforth. It's important to build a foundation in semester one, otherwise you will be very lost going forward. And I'm speaking because I know people who did not get that proper foundation, tried to wing it at the beginning, and it kind of messed them up going forward where they had to get back and try to get that going. So embryology, Dr. Singh uses the book, The Developing Human. Once again, I have that book around here somewhere. I'd recommend getting it, or at least a PDF. PDFs are free, guys. You can get a PDF. And at least going through it in conjunctions with her slides, because sometimes, you know, you can think her slides are a bit scarce and you might have to find your own images and stuff like that. So the book for me was really good. What is also important is knowing what happens in each week. And not just knowing that, but making the connection, because it's really easy to think of things like in a vacuum. So, okay, in week one, this is happening. These cells are developing and rapidly developing, but it doesn't happen by itself. Other things are happening as well. So lower on or later on in development, while the heart is developing, the heart isn't developing by itself. Other organs are also developing. Other things are coming off of somites and things like that. So making that connection and connecting, well, as I said before, connecting the dots, bringing things together, because it's a whole human you're making here, is super important in embryology. The pathology in embryology. Dr. Singh does teach it, and for us anyway, it came in this photo. It came in this photo. So please not only know the pathology, but know what went wrong to cause the pathology. Don't just be like, oh, that's the mermaid. How did that happen? Why did it happen? What do you take for that to happen? Or to prevent it from happening, that kind of stuff. If you guys do have histology, the book I used was Young Carers, and histology is something that you need to practice. Otherwise, it'll just look like a bunch of pink cells in front of you. You need to practice. You need to be able to identify what's in front of you. Otherwise, you'll just be like, okay, what is in front of me? A bunch of pink and blue circles. Is that correct? You wouldn't be wrong. It is a bunch of pink and blue circles, but you need to be able to identify what the pink and blue circles are and where they're from. So practice would really make permanent when it comes to histology. And yeah, that's about it. Show up to the Hypr classes, guys.
So yes, you'd find embryology is a short discussion because truthfully, it's a very straightforward course. Once you follow Dr. Singh's slides, I actually think embryology is finished before the midterm, at least for me. So you'll realize that it's not a very heavy course. It used to be 2 credits when I did it. It's now 3. So it's one of those very straightforward courses. You pay attention, you get your A. Next, we're going to move on to CVS. And CVS is my favorite course in this faculty. So I will be talking to you about the cardiovascular system. I'll just wait for the animation. All right, brilliant. So the cardiovascular system, and I was looking at the second year timetable. You guys obviously are 3 weeks in, and you started antiarrhythmic drugs this week with Baraka. So how to approach and what to expect really from CVS. So CVS, people will tell you it is not a difficult course, but CVS can be difficult. It relies on, well, not relies, but it kind of builds on some, I'd say, third form physics principles, especially with your CVS physiology. It's a physiology heavy course. It builds on those physics principles, and once you take the time to understand CVS physiology, the course makes sense. But you have to approach CVS strategically. Embryology is where you start. And I know you learn your embryology classes at the beginning of the semester in most cases. Sometimes in the middle of the semester, that doesn't make sense. But most cases, you start with your embryology. CVS is one of those courses that you need to start with your embryology when you're studying as well. So you study, you go through your embryology, you go through your anatomy or physiology. It didn't make a difference which one I did first, but just make sure you start with your embryo. CVS anatomy, very straightforward. Dr. Gore will actually highlight everything that's important in her reviews. So CVS anatomy doesn't really trip up a lot of students. What does is physiology. I had Dr. Gupta as any second year. Can you tell me if you guys have Dr. Gupta for physiology as well? But I had Dr. Gupta, and best believe that some of those questions that came on that final exam were concepts that he discussed in class, but I simply was not paying attention. It's not something that you're just going to read the textbook and get straight off the bat, at least not for me. And that was like exercise physiology. Exercise physiology, for example. So for your CVS physiology, you do have Dr. Gupta. Okay, great. For your for your physiology, go to Gupta's classes. See that ECG class? I know people right now, third year, about to start on internal medicine, will have to look at ECGs very often throughout the next 6 weeks that still don't understand simply because they never showed up to the class, and then when they try to go over it on their own, they didn't watch videos, it just didn't make sense. CVS, physiology, pathology will never leave you. So you will, from now till 2026, when you graduate, you're going to see a hypertensive patient. You're going to see a patient in heart failure. I did a case last week on a patient with heart failure. CVS does not escape you. It will never escape you. So take the time to learn it well now. So we talked about anatomy, we talked about embryology, we talked about physiology. CVS pathology is like 4 lectures, if that much. They go very quick with it. If I actually had a problem with that, but once you follow Dr. Skeet's, I think Dr. Skeet teaches, I'm not sure if she's teaching you again, but if Dr. Skeet is teaching you CVS path, it's going to seem very straightforward in class. The lecture slides were like 12. The PowerPoints were like 12 slides. You're going to have to read Robbins. Dr. Skeet for CVS path just skimmed. She didn't go in depth. She just mentioned, and then the questions that came on that midterm looked nothing like what was on the slides. However, your med sibling should be able to help you out where that is concerned. But you're going to have to go through Robbins a bit. I actually use a book called Pathoma. If you use that as well, that'll be good for you. But you're going to have to look at the textbook for CVS path. And remember, this isn't just to pass CVS. This isn't just to get A plus in CVS. This is to remember for life. CVS pathology will never escape you. And then lastly, you have your pharm and your micro B. Now, I don't like micro B. I'll be honest. And if any of you have me on Twitter, you'll know that as well. But CVS and I don't know, Keith and Shen are here, but and anybody that really knows me knows I love CVS Pharm. And that's because CVS Pharm just makes sense. It is, at least for me, it is some of the most straightforward drugs in most instances that you'll encounter in medicine. Also, it's these drugs you'll never forget about. So for instance, we had diuretics in for CVS last year, and a few weeks from now, Dr. Kohal is coming back to teach diuretics again. You don't escape these CVS drugs. You don't escape CVS path. So take the time to learn it now. To approach CVS drugs, Dr. Baratha's slides are pretty straightforward, and he basically just reads the slides in class. So once you go to class, you'll understand. If that's not enough, because I do know a lot of people that complain just going to class for CVS Pharm wasn't really useful, there is always Lippin cards, and Dr. Baratta will pull a question from Lippin cards on your final exam. So you could go through Lippin cards. They explain very well. They have pictures. Dr. Kohal will tell you Rang and Dales and Principle of Farm is the truth. But really and truly, Lippin cards can suffice. If you from there that's still not enough for you, then you could go to your Principles of Farm for a better understanding. So that's CVS, and I do know many of you had questions about CVS um, earlier this week. So I look forward to taking your questions during the Q&A segment. But lastly, it's actually going to be a combined effort, sort of like a panel discussion. I'm going to pose questions to the tutors about FDT. So Shen and Keith, if you're ready, we're going to have a brief chat about FDT. Okay. So, okay, everyone on screen. So start with Keith because we haven't heard Keith for a while. Keith, how is FDT for you?
All right. Before I answer this question on this rap session, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how honest you want me to be? Because it's about to get interesting.
A strong 50.
A strong. All right, cool. All right, so with FDT guys, oh gosh, talking about it even has me good. Um, Let me tell you. All right, it's divided up into farm, micro B, immunology, etc. For each section, right? How to put it? Mm, because I guess keep up is becoming too cliche now. So I'm trying to find a different way to say the same thing, but with special emphasis to FDT. Because okay, if when we start off, so you start with a lot of farming, you see Dr. Cohort a lot, and you're gonna get like pharmacodynamics, and he's gonna talk about like um I guess pharmacodynamics, pharmacokinetics. Pharmacodynamics, he's gonna talk a lot about all he's gonna list like different, oh gosh, different things. Let me start with talk about pharmacokinetics. Pharmacokinetics, he's gonna talk about like um lots of the absorption, how the body processes the drugs and what's not. Pharmacodynamics, he's going to talk a lot about how the body processes these drugs at the molecular level, how the body handles them, how they act, their mechanism of actions, etc. From there, that is your solid foundation, solid, right? Because he's going to go into details on different types of drugs, and these drugs again are going to stick with you for the rest of your medical career, from first to second to third year, right? And like for example, he's gonna do drugs that he's gonna do cholinergic drugs, anticholinergic drugs, up to the other day with our pharmacology seminars. We had to go over different things about anticholinergic drugs and cholinergic drugs and what's not. And it's gonna come again in clinicals. So these are things you want to pay close attention to now in first year. For after these things, after like different types of drugs, you go through antineoplastics, etc. After these things, they're gonna hit stuff like pathology in second semester, but in first semester you're gonna get like microbe and stuff. I believe that's in first semester, right, Elon? Microbe came in
Yes,
first semester? Right. So
microbe
for
was the second module. Yeah.
right. So farm microbe. Microbe, guys, pay a keen attention. There's gonna be a lot of farm again in microbe. And if you don't pay attention to microbe, see when that midterm comes, when that exam in first semester comes, you're gonna regret it. I regretted it. I can be honest with you. That exam is majority pharmacology and a lot of microbe pharmacology. It hurt me. I ain't gonna lie, it still hurts my heart to this day. I mean, y'all can tell my brain talking about FDT right now. Tell you up. So don't be like me, guys. Honestly speaking. So yeah, pay close attention. There are different microbe textbooks you can use to keep on top of microbe. There's microbiology for dummies, for example. I was trying to get that brought in. I'm not sure what other textbooks you guys use. Shen, clinical microbiology there, made ridiculously simple. You can tell for these typos, microbe for dummies and clinically microbiology made ridiculously simple. that microbe is nothing to be taken lightly because it's something that really has to be broken down to the very first grade, to the first level, and then you build your way up. So I'm gonna move on to let Shen give a bit on FDT.
I'm not really sure if you want me to talk about FPT because that might be healthy. Um, well, it's over now, and that's a plus. We're really glad that we made it through. FDT is so there are different parts of FDT that were really nice. I really loved Path, and that was with Dr. Skeet, and it was really nice. And Path specifically, what helps me really a lot in Path is Pathoma. So whether you have the Pathoma book or the Pathoma subscription, it's really helpful. And the guys brings the lecturer, even in the book, he brings things across really simply, and so will we. So the microbe, I really like microbe, but I'm not even gonna lie. This book is why I like microbe. And even now, if we did CVS microbe, I'll go to this book. When it was GIT has a lot of micro. I'll go to this book. It was good to build that foundation because in FDT, if you all thought that not building a foundation in embryology was hard, if FDT messes you up, you're gonna be messed up for a while. Like I still learning farm. I can't even lie. If you need to learn that FDT farm during FDT. And when I say learn, I don't mean learn it for the exam because that's what I did and I knew it for the exam. And I passed the exam and I got a good grade in the exam. Don't ask me about that farm today. So now I have to relearn it and learn it properly so I can actually be able to apply it before I go to the people hospital. Hematology. Okay, so FDT hematology was really nice. Emphasis on FDT hematology. The threes will know what I'm talking about. FDT hematology was really nice and it was pretty enjoyable. We had Dr. Saka. I'm not sure if the year ones will have Saka next semester, but that's the next semester. That's the next semester problem. And what else do we have? It's hematology. What's that other one? Immunology. Okay. Yeah, immunology is also really nice, but it's so much information that honestly, like, if y'all haven't picked up yet, I wasn't the best. I'm not the best in class student, so I don't really go. You should though. You should do as I say, not as I do. But if it's one class I made sure to go to, it was the immunology classes because just the way it was brought forward, and even more so, it's so much information that trying to read the slides alone, because I would pre-read. So trying to pre-read the slides, I was like, I need to go to this class though. I need to go to that class. So I would recommend that for the year one, sorry, but that's the next year problem. This year, you need to focus on that pharmacology. Please, I beg, learn the pharmacology, learn the micro slides. There are probably like 80 slides in one lecture, and you have a good bit of them. I know it's intimidating, but one step at a time. You'll get through it. Yeah, that's all I could say about FDT without making it sound like how it really is. Have fun though. And if you turn up to Hypr, yes, I'm just going to keep plugging us. If you turn up to our sessions, you can have fun in FBT too.
So I particularly asked, I don't mind Shan and Keith, they both got excellent grades at FDT. I particularly asked them their experience first, simply because you need to understand FDT is that course. There are people who have finished this degree and will come back and say FDT is the hardest, well, and hematology, third year, is the hardest thing they ever did because it is a lot of work, not because FDT is particularly difficult. There's no concept in FDT. Well, FDT microbiology is a different level, but everything holistically in FDT, if you were to give me 2 years to go through FDT, really and truly, there's nothing that should trip me up. It's just the volume of information for the amount of time you have is a bit ridiculous. So how to approach a course like FDT, and I had this discussion with the first years already. I see someone said overview. This isn't helping us. Uh, the help comes now. FDT. And Keith was trying not to say keep up with it, but I'm going to be straightforward. FDT, you're gonna have to keep up. That midterm that you have coming up for FDT is going to be mainly, well, it's going to be micro B and farm. And yeah, farm. The stuff that Kohal is teaching you now. Dr. Kohal's section of the exam will be pretty straightforward. Some of the questions will come straight from the questions that he gave you on the slide. So anytime you see a question on Dr. Kohal's slide, note it down. It's coming back. It is coming back. So the farm section for that exam should be pretty straightforward. Now, in my head, when I did my FDT midterm, 2 years ago, I'm old, I told myself, I can learn the farm real good, and then I can brush over the micro B 2 days before the exam. When I tell you that I was not able to answer any of those micro B questions, I'm not joking. That micro B will trip you up if you are not prepared for it. However, there are people in my class who were studying, going through their micro, watching videos from the time they learned it, and they aced that midterm. That midterm was nothing to them. For the 70% of the class who, it's like me, it said, I can see when it comes. We did not fare so well. So that's all the proof you need for FDT. There are people who get A's, A pluses in FDT. And it's not because they're inherently smarter than the next. It's simply because FDT is one of those courses you have to organize well. I'm making chat. Okay, sketchy. Yes. Suffice to say, right. So I know FDT sounds daunting, but let's focus on this semester. So this semester, Hypr, well, your tutors, FDT is going to be a combined approach. So this semester, we have you covered for FDT. Trust and believe. FDT is our focus for the first years. What you can expect is us to go through the high yield information for pharmacology, the high yield information for micro B, and one thing I will tell you, and this mistake happens every year. You learn pathology, FDT pathology after the midterm. So most students, and I'm speaking to myself as well, tell themselves, well, that's not coming on the end of the semester because there's no first semester one final. It's a year-long course. So I can just look at the pathology in second semester. Yeah, don't do that. When you have your pathology classes with Dr. Skeet, first of all, attend, please attend. But when you have those pathology classes with Dr. Skeet, go over it then. You don't want to be the student that's, your final FDT exam, April 2022, and you now have to go over information that you learned in late 2021. No. It's not going to go well, especially if you're behind the immunology as well. But let's focus on this semester. So farm, you have, see something in the chat. Farm, you have micro B, and you have farm, micro B, and you have path. Farm, straightforward. Micro B can drown you, but again, we have sessions planned that will make micro B a lot easier. And looking at the resources that we are going to use, I envy you guys, because if I had a slither of this opportunity, FDT would have been cake for me. And then path. Once you read the textbook, once you go to Dr. Skeet's classes, Dr. Skeet will try to trip you up. There will be one or two questions on that exam that she will not teach, and you had to dig from the bottom of the book. However, for the majority of her questions, once you go to class, once you pay attention, you go over and read Robbins, you'll be fine. So that's FDT. It sounds daunting. It is daunting. It is a heavy course. It is one of those courses that will keep you up at night. in most instances, because I know some people that never let FDT get in them. But persons have came before me, persons have came after me, gotten A's in FDT, persons in my year, persons in this call have done extremely well in FDT, and you can too. So don't think that, oh, everybody says FDT is difficult, it means it's going to be difficult for me as well. FDT is one of those courses that once you plan and prepare for, it's going to be tough, but you can do well. So that concludes the review of all the courses. And at this time, what I'm going to allow for, actually, no, before we get into questions, Devon is going to come and speak to you about the Hypr formula. So everything that we said today, and Shen and Keith and I would have alluded to the fact that Hypr has helped us a lot. It comes down to us. It comes down to what Devon will now call or will tell you about the Hypr formula. I want you to pay special attention to this. If I had this in first year, I envy you guys, but I won't say too much more. I'll let Devon take stage.
Okay, good evening again, everyone. I am excited to be here, as I said earlier on. And I'm really just excited and happy and pleased with how this conversation has transpired thus far. A lot of big nuggets of wisdom coming from Elan, Keith, and Shen this evening. So, definitely we thank them for that. So right now, we're going to talk about the Hypr formula. Now, the Hypr formula basically is how Hypr Academics plans to strategically position ourselves to get you that A that you're looking for. That's our goal. At Hypr, we say that your success is our mission. So to help along, I'm actually going to play a video. And that video is about 4 minutes long. It's very, very comprehensive. After that video done, all I have to talk about is the highlights because it has all the information. In fact, after the video, instead of giving you a whole long epistle after that, what we're gonna basically do is have a practical demonstration of sorts of how the Hypr formula works and how the Hypr formula can get you that A, how that Hypr formula helped people like Ellen earlier this year to succeed in the courses that he did with Hypr. So without further ado, I just want to lend your attention for 4 minutes. Don't go anywhere. And also remember, if you have any question regarding any course, anything that has been done before, just put it in the chat. You can do it right now, and we will flag it. And in the question and answer segment at the end, we will definitely bring those up. So without further ado, let's just look at this presentation. Hey guys, it's your boy Malcolm from Hypr Academics, again, here to proudly announce our plans for this academic year. First up, Hypr Academics will not be tutoring this year. What? Hold up, not so fast. It's not quite like that. The current pandemic has changed a lot of things, and our medical education was not spared. Therefore, as the dynamic face of the pandemic and the medical education changes, so too must we demonstrate our malleability and our ability to evolve to solve emerging needs. In pursuit of that, we have, over the last few months, spent a great deal of time consulting with medical professionals, faculty, companies in other jurisdictions, and most importantly, many of you students. These consultations have concluded that traditional tutoring cannot work. Well, at least not alone. With the newly introduced access to your online classes and recordings, it gives us at Hypr Academics more reason to encourage you to attend your lectures and watch recordings, as the University of the West Indies remains the #1 authority on content for your exams. Therefore, here is the formula that we have devised. We've developed the Hypr community, a learning platform like never seen before in these parts, bringing together the convenience and familiarity of social media and a powerful learning management system. This platform will see students networking with consultants, residents, other doctors, other professionals, and other students from across the region. Students will all have free access to groups and forums dedicated to various courses, all semester long. We have collaborated with a team of medical students and doctors to source and create academic content specific to the UWI syllabus, which we will deliver via our Hypr videos. We expect that these videos will bridge the gap that exists with other such offerings that do not hit the nail right on the head where the UWI syllabus and Caribbean epidemiological data are concerned. These videos will be synchronized with review quizzes, exam simulations, and textual information and reference materials to set you on the right track to success. As you do this, links will direct you to groups and forums where discussions will ensue on core topics, except that it will foster 24-hour access to clarification from members and not be limited to the boundaries of a 2-hour paid tutorial. Each week, we will facilitate 2 sessions. But wait, did I not say that we will not be tutoring this year? Well, as part of our renewed approach, these 2 sessions a week will cover high-yield content and topics or aspects of topics that you have issues with. Therefore, each week, students will have the opportunity to tell us exactly what they want to gain from these sessions. Isn't that amazing? Essentially, Hypr Academics is prepared to be that 24 hours, 7 days, 12 months companion on your academic journey. We will provide you with tips, academic counseling, follow up on your study progress, and help you maintain that focus as you grapple, like us, with the realities of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have established a medical podcast where we hope to connect, educate, entertain, and advocate. We encourage you to listen on all podcast platforms as well as on our website, as we have exciting things in store for you. We have no doubt that this year will be a rewarding one for you. And with us, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Join the Hypr community at www.hyprcommunity.com. Follow us on social media at Hypr Academics and let us help you succeed. After all, your success is our mission. Okay, guys, so that was actually a long video with a very handsome guy. Just joking. Well, I am, but anyways. Right, so you heard it, guys. The Hypr formula, how it is that Hypr Academics plans to get you on the track to getting your A, your A in your different courses. We have three major products that form part of the Hypr formula. We have Hypr videos, Hypr review sessions, and Hypr papers or Hypr Cuba, right? And basically, just before I get into the practical demonstration, essentially, what we're saying is that this pandemic has taught us that we have to do things differently. You spend the entire day on a screen attending your lectures at the university, which, by the way, as you heard from Chen, you heard from Ellen, you heard from Keith, going to your lectures is important, right? Or if not going live, these days you have the opportunity to watch asynchronously. Do that, because the university remains your number one authority on all things for your courses. But you have to also be smart. It's one thing to work hard, but you must also work smart, right? And your eyes being strained all day, we really think that it's not necessarily to bombard you with a tutorial session every day or every other day. And that's why we have developed Hypr videos where our tutors, like Ellen and Chen and Keith, put together these lectures that you can go on and you can watch at any time. If it's 3 a.m., go and you watch it. 3 p.m., go and you watch it. So when it comes now with that, in addition to the fact that you went to your lecture, you watched the recording, you may have read a textbook or you watched a YouTube video, whatever it is. you recognize that in this topic, there are some things that you might really understand and some things you may not understand. Some things you may grasp better than others. And so what we are doing is giving you the opportunity to tell us, yo, I did cell photo. Oh no, we don't do photosynthesis. That's crazy. I did the pentose pathway, right? If that's a thing, yeah, it should be a thing, right? And I did not understand XYZ. When you tell that to your cell biology tutor, Keith will now say, okay, well, for that topic, there are some core things that you need to know. But then also, if you don't understand something, you need to understand it too. So Keith will now prepare to come to this session. He's going to be armed with past paper questions, example questions on the key topics as well as the problem areas for you. And basically, you're going to have that session for about an hour to an hour and a half, where basically your tutor is going to teach around these questions, right? So it's going to give you the opportunity to see how your lecturers ask your questions in your exam, as well as to recognize that, okay, these are some high yield things that you need to understand, and you get to see and experience exactly how they're going to ask. So now after you've done the Hypr videos, you've done the Hypr review sessions, then you come for Hypr papers. And what Hypr papers are is that we've basically taken past paper questions, we've put them onto the system. I don't know where I developed that word, put it. And we put them onto the system. We put explanations for why the answer is correct and why the wrong answers are wrong. And you get to simulate an examination environment. You can tell yourself, okay, I need half an hour. I'm going to sit and I'm going to do that. I'm not going to use anything to help me. And I sit and I do it. What it does is that it helps you, one, in terms of assessing your understanding of the topic and assessing your readiness for exam, but it also serves as a learning opportunity, because I always say the best way to learn something is to get it wrong. Anything that I get wrong, anytime I feel embarrassed, trust me, it's going to stay in my head, right? And that's what the Hypr papers do for you. What we've done this semester is that we've categorized the question into topics. So for example, if you're doing a particular topic, you can go on and do Hypr papers, Hypr questions from the Hypr Q Bank just on that topic. So it helps you to zone in on where you are, and you decide how you're going to do what you're going to do, right? So without further ado, what I'm going to do is basically show you a preview, a 1-minute preview of one of our Hypr videos. So let's go. Let me just share it. One of the videos that we do. So let's just see. Compare. I'll see it's right here. Right.
Welcome back, guys. Today, we will be discussing the cardiac cycle. No, not the heart going on its bi-monthly bicycle hike up to the Blue Mountains. Rather, the series of mechanical events that occur. Welcome back, guys.
Who would you like to call?
Welcome back, guys. Today we will be discussing the cardiac cycle. And no, not the heart going on its bi-monthly bicycle hike up to the Blue Mountains. Rather, the series of mechanical events that occur during one heartbeat. Follow me, guys, and let me walk you through it. Now, the cardiac cycle, as stated before, describes the series of mechanical events involving changes in pressure and volume, which occur during one heartbeat. As we have covered before, these mechanical events occur as a result of what? Exactly. Electrical impulses normally generated by the SA node and moving through the electrical conduction system of the heart. In a healthy heart, beating at about 75 beats per minute, the total time for this event is 0.8 seconds, quicker than Mr. Bolton.
Okay, guys. So you get the idea, right? You get the idea. So basically, that was a preview for a Hypr video, and as of tomorrow, Hyper videos will be available free for Cave Hill students, some videos, so that you can get to look at some of the videos for some of the topics and get a feel of it, right? So that's Hyper videos. And as you can see, okay, so the topic was cardiac cycle. You watch that video, you inform your tutor what are the trouble areas, your tutor comes, and they do these hyper review sessions that should take place at least twice for each year group for any particular week. And then the other practical demonstration that I have for you is an example of our hyper papers. Okay, so let's just do this quick preview, right? So right here, you're seeing this is a hyper paper, right? It has 12 questions. We're not gonna actually answer it. Let me just add it to the stream. We're not gonna actually answer it. We're just gonna put random answers, right? So let's just put some random answers. So you can actually opt to check your answer right away. So you can see here that it says that my answer is wrong. Prokaryotes have all of the following except a cell wall. Prokaryotes do have cell wall. And it gives you the reasoning. It says here, bacteria have DNA, but they do not have a nucleus. Instead, they have a nucleoid. They have no membrane-bound organelles, right? And that basically is all that you will keep doing for all of the 12 questions. You can tell yourself that I don't want to check. You don't have to check the answers. You can actually just move on, and then you can check the answers at the end. All right, so let's just do that quickly. Boom, bam, beam, boom, bam, almost there, boom. And then you click on your hyper summary, right? And you tell them that, okay, you're finished. And it's gonna compute your results. Poor me got 25%, 3 out of 12, right? And you have the opportunity to join the leaderboard, where you can actually see, you know, how you rank among students, and that has its own perks, but we will discuss those later. But even at that point, you can view the questions, and then you can see now where you got each of the questions incorrect, right? And you can see, for example, sometimes you have really long, comprehensive explanations, right? So they basically vary. And that, my friends, is hyper papers. That's hyper papers. So obviously, over the coming days, we'll have more and more opportunities for you to learn what we do. But the last thing I want to mention before I basically give our tutors one last time to make their own closing arguments, if you put it that way, is to share with you how exactly these things are priced. Well, that's one of the most important information that everyone always asks. How are these things priced? Are they expensive anyway? Well, guess what? They actually are not. So what you'll see on your screen, and I want you to ignore the Jamaican dollar amounts that are there. You can ignore them, right? Just focus on the US dollar. So what we've done is that we've basically said, okay, you can take one course. So for example, if you're in year one, let's say you want to do only cell biology, and these are the prices. We've put different bundles in place, so you can basically build a bundle for yourself. You can, if you want just the hyper videos, you can get them. If you want just the hyper review sessions, you can get them. If you want just the hyper papers, you can get them, right? But you can see that when you bundle them up, the prices are even better. So for example, to get the full hyper formula, the full hyper package for one course is $25.50, right? But if you add on a second course, it becomes $40 US for everything. And that's for the entire semester, guys. Only $40 for the entire semester to get access to all the content for these two courses. Man, that's a giveaway, right? And then you'll see if you take 3 courses, for example, it goes down to $57, right? So it goes down to less than $20 US or 40 Bajan dollars a course, right? You also have the option of paying monthly, right? So for example, you're new to Hyper, you want to see if your schedule can permit you to participate in Hyper the way that you want to know if it is that Hyper is right for you, then we invite you, purchase a month from us, right? So you can take a month subscription for all of the Hyper videos, all of the Hyper review sessions, all of the Hyper papers. If you do for 3 courses, that's only $22, only 44 Bajan dollars, right? And that gives you access to everything for the month. everything that we've put out for the month. And then you can determine, well, is Hypr something I really want to stick with or not? We actually think that you will decide to stick with us. We are actually very confident because we know the hard work that our dedicated team has put into all of this. Definitely, guys, if it is you want any more information or you want to even just check out the prices one more time, you can go to the shop on Hypr Community, hyprcommunity.com and /shop. And if you do that, it will allow you to basically see what's going on there, right? So as you can see, as you should be able to see quite very shortly, right? This is basically our shop. Well, this is a cart. I was kind of trying to empty it out in time for this session, but I seem to have forgotten. But when you go on the shop, by tomorrow, there's gonna be on the shop dedicated categories for Cave Hill. But you can see, for example, for year one, all you do is you just go on the shop and you just add what you want. The Hypr papers, the Hypr review sessions, the videos into your cart. And the cart is going to automatically compute your discounts. You get some serious discounts. So you can see for what is already in this, there's a savings of up to $26, you know. So we have a lot of exciting things for you in our shop. And so we invite you to take a look. But the last thing I would say is that don't worry about money for now. One of the things that Hypr Academics always does is that our first 2 or so sessions for each year group is free of cost. So you hear us talk about Hypr review sessions, but just look out. By tomorrow, the team is going to release our first initial schedule that will allow you to access these Hypr review sessions and determine if it is something that you really want to do. So what we're going to do as we close, we're going a little over time, is basically just invite our tutors one last time to give us a closing arguments, if you put it that way. Basically tell us what to expect from them for their respective courses, and just hype up the thing, man, because we know that you're going to enjoy it, and we prefer that you hear from the horse's mouth. So we're going to start with Keith. I'm going to invite Keith to tell us about his plans for cell biology and endocrine, and tell us why it is that we should join him for cell biology and endocrine. Keith?
All right. Thank you. So as Devon beautifully put it, as long as you guys have any areas of discomfort when it comes to these courses, make sure mention it. Even if it seems small and insignificant to you, it is essential to understand as much as you can understand. So because as you guys can tell, I'm really passionate about endo and cell bio. I have a high enthusiasm for the courses. So I'll ensure that I go over everything with you guys in detail. Make sure you understand, go through questions, and trust me, that I won't feel satisfied. I won't feel pleased, right? Until I make sure that you guys come out of there better than you went in. I'm telling you, you're gonna have a blast. I'm gonna make sure you have a blast. Honestly, I'm pretty my character, I'm pretty laid back, fun loving, so I'm gonna make sure you guys enjoy it. Right? So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Keith. And then we're gonna go to Shen, who is our tutor for locomotor and embryology. So yes, let's go, Shen. Tell us why you think that that we should our students should join your Hypr sessions and buy into Hypr. What's your plans?
Hi guys. Again, this is the last time you'll hear from me for the night, I promise. I think that you should join, and you will have fun with me. I feel like I'm a really dynamic person. Coming to Hypr, as Elan said before, it really got him his A in CNS. It helped all of us last semester, especially being online. Online school is not easy, and med is not easy. So, it's kind of coupled in that effect. If you come, I promise you'll have fun. You should also download Kahoot, because I'm going to be using that. And, I'll ensure it's not just learning, but it's being able to apply. So this is not memorization. You will, I assure you, when you're done with Hypr and just the method that we use at Hypr, you will be able to apply this information, and it will stick with you where you'll be able to pull on it at any moment. So come join us, guys, especially for embryology and local.
Thank you so much, Shen. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're made of. Haha. Trust me, I know that she is great. And last but by absolutely no means least, I'm gonna invite Brother Ellen, who has been so ably hosting this rap session this evening, to tell us about CVS and GIT.
Thank you, Devon. So I'm not going to say too much. Honestly, once you come to the review sessions, once you follow the hyper formula, you'll get your A. But that's not really the goal here. The goal is for you to be able to take in this information and keep it for the rest of your medical journey. So my goal for you, you're gonna have a lot of Kahoot sessions as well with me. I know Shen mentioned that. My goal for you is to make sure that you leave and you can say a year later, yeah, I remember my thyroid diuretics. Elon taught me this cool little acronym. I know my anti-arithmetics, my class ones, so forth and so on. So I'm not going to say too much because I know that a few of you have been reaching out already, and I've been able to, um, apologies, I've been able to sort out the little kinks for you. So come to the hyper reviews, and trust and believe this semester will be a breeze. That's it from me.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ellen, and thank you so much, everybody. Basically, this brings us to the end of our rap session this evening. I trust that you had a good time. Wait, no, it's not the end because we actually have a question that someone asked that we should get answered before we end. It was just one person that asked the question, and that person was Ashid Jones. Let me just see the question where it was asked. Yes. Oh, Ashia Jones, right? And that is for FDT. So I will throw it out to anybody who is willing to answer. What books would you recommend for year one FDT? Because Principles of Pharmacology is quite boring. Principle of Pharmacology is quite boring. So who's gonna take this one? Uh, Want to help us out, Ellen? Who do we
Yeah,
direct this question to?
I can take it. So I
Sure.
assume you're talking about pharmacology. So truthfully, for FDT, the farm isn't going to be more in depth than what's on the lecture slides. So Principles of Farm is the recommended book, that and Ryan Dale's, and I agree with you completely. Those books were very boring, especially in first year. I didn't up to now. I haven't read the chapters. Probably should have read that on the call. I haven't read the required chapters for Principles of Farm because once you go through the lecture slides, once you remember Dr. Kohal's questions that came on the slides, you'll be fine for Farm. For the other modules, they're different books, and I'll just to avoid any back and forth. For Micro B, there's the books showed Micro B made ridiculously easy. There's also Jawets. I don't have that on my desk. But those are the two good ones for Micro B. For Path, there is, and you can reach out to me if if you don't remember the names. That's fine. For Path, there is Robbins pathology. That is the gold standard. Dr. Skeet will use that. Dr. Reed will use that. Every lecturer from now on will talk about Robbins. And this book that I like, Pathoma, simply because the videos are really good. Um, but you have to have a link to get those videos. Then Hematology, straightforward. Don't bother with the textbook. Read the slides. This is FDT Hematology, and not to be confused with the horrible, the really exciting but uh, daunting course in third year. And then for Immunology, um, I think I think anybody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dr. Quimby used Lippincott. But truthfully, once you go to her class, and that is one lecture you have to go to their class to understand. Once you go to Quimby's classes, you'll be good. Yes, Pathoma is the Bible.
Okay, thank you very much, Elan, for that. So, without further ado, I don't think there was any other questions. I just want to, on behalf of Hyper Academics, thank you guys for joining. It has definitely been a pleasure, and we look forward to working with you. As I said, you will hear from the team tomorrow when the first set of sessions will be, as well as tomorrow evening there will be a page on the Hyper community website dedicated to you, where you can access samples of our Hyper videos for your various courses, Hyper review recordings, as well as as well as oh, as well as you will get access to sample Hyper papers. So thank you very much, everybody, and do have a wonderful evening from all of us here at Hyper Academics, and also have a wonderful week. Okay, so blessings.